All right, so as you may know, the main method right here is sort of like the entry point of your application. So this is the first thing that is going to be executed. So we don't want the console to show up. We don't need all of this. We're just gonna fill this with our own stuff. All right, so now we want to create a class that is responsible for the game loop that I explained to you decades ago. Okay, for that we're gonna create a new folder first, and I'm gonna name that Gameloop. And inside that folder, I'm gonna create a new item, empty file, or I can choose a class template. I think I'm gonna do that. And call it gameloop.cs. Create. All right, so now we got a new class already. And just like any other IDE, Sharp Develop, put some template stuff right into it. You can see the username and stuff like that. Yeah. And also it automatically creates a new namespace if you create a new folder, but I just want that folder for me to better sort things, so I don't really want this to be in a separate namespace. Actually, for a game this simple, we are probably going to keep everything in the same namespace. That might change later, or you might want to change it, whatever. But for now, I'm just gonna use the same namespace. All right, so I don't want this XML documentation of the constructor. I don't need that. All right, so we want to make our game loop an abstract class, right? Because we're not gonna directly instantiate this class. We're just gonna use it as a pattern for our game, right? All right, so the first thing we need to do now is actually include all of the SFML namespaces that we're going to need, which will be SFML graphics, and it will be SFML.window, and we're also going to need SFML.system. All right, the first thing that we're going to do is define two constant values. Whoops. All right, two constant values. The first one is an integer that just defines our target frame rate, which will be 60. And the other one is the actual time that we want to pass before we do an update or a tick or whatever you want to call it, which is 1 divided by this target FPS value. And I'm going to use constants for that because at least in this tutorial, I don't expect those values to change ever. All right, cool. So the next thing we need is a few properties. All right, so the first one is going to be of type render window, and I'm just going to call it window. And render window is a part of the SFML graphics namespace, and it's responsible for actually displaying a window where stuff can be rendered in. Okay, so we're gonna set it up like this. It's got a public getter and a protected setter, because we're not going to ever need to set this property from outside. It's probably not gonna change ever once it's set up. So the next property will be, let's see, all right. of the type game time, which we haven't created yet. That's why it's highlighted as an error. But we're gonna do that in a minute. And this also set up the same way. Public getter, protected setter. All right. And here comes another property of the type color, which is a part of the SFML graphics namespace as well. And we're going to call this window clear color. Something along those lines. It's going to be the color that is displayed in a window when there's nothing inside it. Right? So it's probably going to be black or white or maybe even pink, anything you want. And it's also going to be... I hate this auto completion of... Sharp develop. It's a bit off sometimes. See? It always wants me to use datetime offset, which doesn't make sense at all in this case. This is terrible. Finally, thank you. All right. And another property. Oh no, sorry. That's it for now. That's it for now. All right, so these are all the properties that we need for now. Let's take a look at the constructor next. Our constructor is going to use a few parameters. And the first one is going to be the width of the game window. And of course, the height of the game window as well. And I'm going to use unsigned integers for those values because, as you may already know, an unsigned integer can basically only have a positive value. And because it wouldn't really make sense to pass a negative value to the window width or window height. That'd be completely insane. It wouldn't make sense at all, right? Okay, so another thing we need is a string for the window title, as the one you can see right up here. Let's call this window title. And of course, we're gonna need to pass it a color for our window clear color property. All right, so let's initialize all of this. First thing we want to do is set the window clear color to the window clear color that we passed into the constructor. And then we're going to create a new window for our window property. Actually, a new render window. That's the correct term. And the render window constructor needs a video mode. So we're going to pass it a new video mode. What this video mode basically does in this case is define the width and the height. There's more to video mode, but I'm going to get into that later in a later tutorial. Yeah, for now we're just going to pass it the width and the height of the window. Whoops. And of course, the title. Window title. And I think that's all we need, right? All right. Well, I just realized, of course, a public constructor doesn't really make sense in an abstract class because you cannot directly instantiate this class. So this constructor will only ever be called from child classes of this class, of this abstract class. Speaking of abstract class, if there's anything you don't know, like this abstract keyword, let me know in the comments. Like I said, I assume you already have a basic knowledge of C#, like you know the basics, what a property is, what a field is, what a variable is in general, what a method is, what a constructor is. But if you don't, just leave a comment and feel free to ask. And I'm gonna as soon as I find the time, either just leave a quick response in the comments, or even make a video about it if I think it's something that is either highly requested or is not easily explained in just a quick reply in the comments. Okay? So feel free to ask. Okay, so but before we continue with this Gameloop class, we're gonna create the GameTime class that we're still lacking, that we just used here. And yeah, so just add a new class in this Gameloop folder, for example, and call it GameTime CS. And of course, it automatically puts it in this different namespace. I don't want that, and I don't want this XML documentation either. I'm gonna... Do I need anything, any other namespace and system? Well, let's see. We'll see. Alright, so now we got this GameTime class, and we're going to need... The first thing that we need is a private field, and it's going to be of type float, and we're going to call it delta time. And we're going to initialize it as 0, and another value, another private field called time scale, which will be initialized as 1. Oh, and of course I meant to type float, not float. Float. Alright. And we're going to need a few properties, of course, because we love to use properties. First one is going to be of the type float, and it's going to be called timescale. And actually, what this property is going to do is just return the timescale private field that we just declared, and also set it, but only privately set it. Well, actually, we want to be able, there we go again. Alright, we want to be able to set it from anywhere. Okay, and set timescale equals value. Alright. And I know that in newer C# versions, you can just initialize a property, so we wouldn't really have to use a private field in the background. So we could just use an auto property, but I just like to keep it this way. Okay, and let's create another property, which will also be of type float, and this is going to be our delta time. And but in this case, we don't want to just return the delta time value up here. Instead, we want to return the delta time value up there, multiplied by, of course, by the time scale. Right? So whenever we set a different time scale, let's say 2, delta time will be double the amount. So that would speed up time, technically. Well, oh, what did you do there? Alright, now we get it. And set, well, set will basically just set the delta time to whatever value we passed. Right, I think that's it. Return. Yep, that should be it. We could actually just put that in one line. I think it looks a bit more compact and it's still easy to read. Right. Doesn't that look neat? I think it does. Okay, but just in case we actually need the actual delta time value unscaled, we're going to declare or to create another property. Whoops, and call it delta time unscaled. And this will basically just return delta time without any sort of modification. And that doesn't need to be a setter because there's nothing to set in this case. Okay. All right, so another property is, let's see. Yeah, right. It's a float type, and it'll be the total amount of time in seconds that has already passed since the start of the game. And let's make this an order property, which will have a public getter and a private setter. Okay. Let's skip the constructor for now. We don't need to set up a constructor, but what we need is a method. We're going to make this method a public one. It's not going to return anything, so it's going to be void, and let's call it update. And what this method will do is update all the values like delta time and total time elapsed. Alright, so two parameters. First one is a float delta time, not delta times, and the other one is total time elapsed. And you'll see exactly what this method is used for in a couple minutes. For now, let's just make it actually update our values. Total time elapsed. Of course, will be total time elapsed. The value that we just passed, or that we pass whenever we're going to use this method. Right, I think that's it for the game time class. Save it. Yeah, I think that's it. So now let's get back into our Gameloop class. So now that we're back in our Gameloop class, let's actually initialize our game time property with a new instance of our game time class. All right, so that's it for now for the constructor. And now the most important part. Let's create a new method, which will also be void because it doesn't return anything. And in this method, we will actually define our game loop. And as we said, the first thing that we need to do is load our content. And for that, we're going to need another method. We're going to make it an abstract one. Because we don't want to define any functionality in this abstract class. We just want to make it mandatory to implement these methods in child classes of this game loop class. All right. And we're gonna do that for the other methods, the other steps of our game loop. So I just copied that a few times, and this will be initialize, and this will be update or tick or whatever. I prefer to call it update because it updates our game logic, and the other one will be render or draw. Actually, our update and draw method will use a parameter of the type gameTime that we just created. Call it gameTime, so that when we actually create a game from this game loop, which will be a child class of this abstract class game loop, we're gonna have a much more convenient way to access gameTime because we're gonna just need it a lot. Okay?